talk about what's going on in Hollywood specifically, guys. So, as you know, nothing good. As you know, Hollywood has a certain obsession with the idea of diversity. It's all over their ad campaigns. It's all over their films and television. It's something that we talk about extensively on this channel. Certainly just yesterday, we were talking about the fact that there is the possibility that they are going to race swap the character of Severus Snape in the upcoming Harry Potter, in the upcoming Harry Potter series. But more to the point, what they do every couple of years, guys, is they release these studies that are always funded by these, dare I say, shadowy organizations with hardly benevolent causes, right? And what they're doing here is they're giving Hollywood a scaled grade on how they're doing when it comes to diversity, meaning that you have to live up to their expectations as to what their numbers should be for diverse characters and roles in Hollywood. This one here, it says, and I'm not trying to be mean. This is how they phrased it. LGBTQ, fat and disabled characters combined only make up 10% of the film roles in Hollywood and television. By the way, they go out of their way to then tell you why they use the word fat so that you know that they're not being mean.
How much do they make up by volume?
Man, that's two good fat jokes in one day. We apologize, guys. LGBTQ plus fat and disabled characters combined only make up a total of 10% of the 100 highest grossing films, according to a new study shared on Tuesday by the Gina Davis Institute. Well, some spy. Yes, literally called the Gina Davis Institute.
She was very fit, wasn't she?
Well, there you have it. Well, not when they make the biopic, then they're going to make her body positive.
Oh, no.
The Institute's 2024 GDI film study titled Charting Progress in Film Diversity examines children's and family programming to, quote, better understand the influence of media on young audiences who are most vulnerable to media effects. Well, I would say that maybe they should apply that same thing to TikTok, like we were talking about earlier. Maybe we'd actually make a difference here.
I think they should.
It says, our goal is to drive industry change for providing creators with the data and insights they need to improve how gender, race, LGBTQIA plus identity, disability, body size, and age are presented on screen. Well, what I know, and I don't know much, you know, admittedly, but great art isn't made with charts. And great art is not made with checklists of how you get to a character's identity and representation. It gets there through authenticity, which is why, you know, even a person who doesn't know what is going on in Hollywood can smell it a mile away when it feels forced. I think the most honest example, not of a specific character, but in general, is when they do something like this and then the actor just simply, regardless of what they look like, isn't very good. Now, in the past, when they would race and gender swap characters, they would do so because they were going to put a big name actor or actress in that role. Think of Nick Fury. Think of anything Denzel Washington. A good example would have been, say, Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell. Even if you disagree with her being cast in that role, you understood why a studio wanted to do that, because Scarlett Johansson is a big name that can draw in money at the box office. So people gave leeway to that. It's why the discourse around Idris Elba becoming James Bond has lasted for as long as it has, because even if you disagree with the notion of race swapping James Bond, you at least understand, given Idris Elba's body of work, his status within the industry, why they would choose to do that. But that's not what happens 99 times out of 100. And they're using movies as an example of why there's no diversity in Hollywood. Here's the thing. Most of that stuff isn't happening in the movies. It's happening in the television shows, which they are oversaturated with right now in the market. I bet you if you went on any streaming service right now and you look through everything, 99.9% of it is stuff you've never heard of before or will never watch. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it says,
I guarantee it.
It says the study was presented exclusively at the RAPS 2024 Power Women's Summit. Remember, it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is, what year it is. There is a women's summit going on somewhere right now. Always. It's true. They're all like, there's never like the 2024 Euro dudes in Hollywood summit. That's not a thing.
That's true.
That's true. Okay. So it says, looking to films that were rated PG or PG-13, were made for $10 million or more, were English language, and were made for theatrical or streaming release. The study finds that LGBTQ plus characters accounted for 1.5% of film roles, disabled characters accounted for 2% of film roles, and fat characters for 6.5% of film roles. Well, of course, that number is bigger.
I want to know the volume.
Additionally, female characters make up 37.8% of screen roles, and non-white characters make up 40.5%. The study additionally found that characters that are 50 years and older are an underrepresented group, making up just 18.7. Well, Michelle Yeoh is getting all the work these days, so color me shocked. I don't know if I believe that here, but they say they want to drive change, and they had to apologize for using the word fat, and I'm not even kidding you. If you read in this article, it says here it is. In regards to the study using the word fat, I'm going to put this on screen so you know that I'm being serious here. It says, in regards to using the word fat, the study clarified that it used as a value neutral descriptor in order to differentiate from obese or overweight, as those terms are rooted in medical practices that often reinforce stigma and bias against larger bodies. Well, Ozempic tells me that bias is running wild in Hollywood and they don't actually want to be that size. But do you guys think that there is a way that they can... Look, I don't think that this is going to matter anyways. I think that there's been a cultural shift the last couple of years, and Hollywood realizes now that if they're going to start making money again, they at least have to try and hide the message better than they've been doing for the last 10 years. Do you think that there's any way in which you can try to implement something like this, meaning a checklist of, you need this percentage of this and this percentage of this? Is there any way in that works where the audience doesn't smell it from a mile away?
I personally don't think so, because now, like, everyone's,
hyper-focused.
Everyone's woke radar is up. They're just like, because now people are seeing woke when it's not woke.
Yeah,
right? They're like, oh, that's woke, blah, blah, blah.
I never use that word anyways, because here's the thing. I try to approach every single topic like this thinking of like what their questions are going to be for me. Like, what are their questions going to be for me about my methodology when I'm complaining about something? And I try to not use the word woke, because most of the time you could ask 10 different people and get 10 different definitions for what that means.
I'm not particularly like happy about the word woke.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Crisis Party. Thank you, guys. And no, I missed a 20 from Alejandro Reyes. $20 with no message. Thank you. Okay. All right. I think you're right, Phil. I think that the radar is up and people aren't going to be able to just accept it. And that's the way it's going to be. I don't think it's going to disappear on TV. I think in movies you'll see a pushback, but in television it's going to continue at the rate they're going here. They says other key findings, and I would love for them to be able to show me the evidence on this. Other key findings include that women are 5 times as likely as men to be objectified on screen. Good. I don't know where they're getting that information from, but I'm seeing a lot of look, they made the big deal about Chris Hemsworth. He gets like stripped naked in the last Thor movie and basically humiliated. Look, I'm not seeing a lot of that when it comes to women in Hollywood. Maybe if we're talking horror movies, I suppose, or something like Subservience with Megan Fox this year, which is very, very focused on physical form. But that doesn't seem to be my experience when you go to the big budget blockbuster films. If anything, it seems that they go out of their way to make sure that women are as sexless as the men. And they don't want anyone to have any appeal to the other gender, lest they be called something that a feminist won't like.
I don't watch a lot of movies, but it does seem like since Me Too, or maybe just in the woke world we live in now, it is no longer a sex positive world.
Yes,
it is a very sex negative world. And that you see in the way that that film and TV is presented, and the stories and
mid-2000s
stuff.
was like the height of sex positive Hollywood.
probably, yeah.
Like mid 2000s was, right?
Yeah.
But now what they've done, look, we just covered the story yesterday about Girls Gone Wild
Yeah.
being exposed. Hugh Hefner has been largely exposed, and all of
Hugh
those
Hefner's been exposed?
Well, I mean, there have been made multiple documentaries about him and his behavior. You can make up your own mind as to whether you think he was a bad guy or not. The point is these people were venerated by Hollywood at a time when arguably men and women probably were treated more equally than they are now, meaning that women were treated with as much agency as men were in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, there's definitely a significant effort to infantilize women now. Like, you know, if there are people on social media that deem there is a relationship where the woman is too young for the man, even if she's, you know, in her early 30s.
Yeah.
But he's like 60. People will be like, that's too. Look at how old he is. Like they were saying that about
Michael
Olivia
Caine.
Nunzi and RFK. RFK was like in his late 60s. Olivia Nunzi's in her 30s, and people were like, blah blah blah, the age gap, and it's like, yo.
Yeah.
Either she's an adult with agency or she's not. And if she's not, that's fine, but then get to repealing the 19th Amendment, right? Because you can you're an adult that can do adult things or you're not. But this halfway there or only when it's convenient is a horrible standard.
There was the this meme going around for like the last couple of days on X of Michael Caine, and he was 40 with his 25-year-old wife or girlfriend, who he's still married to this day. And it said, I'm tired of pretending like this is okay. She's a 25-year-old new adult, and all you see
New
is,
adult,
yes,
right?
Basically, she's a fresh-faced new adult at 25, and everybody knows the meme from Law and Order. She was 40 years old, you sick fuck. You know the meme that goes around.
It's ridiculous.
But look, there's more here. Again, I would love to be able to see the actual data here because maybe it's just the shows that I'm watching, but it goes on. When it comes to careers women have in films or TV, women are less likely to have an occupation, but are equally as likely as men to be a leader and equally as likely as men to work in business, blue-collar professions, education, the arts, and the government or royalty. So this is one of those things that it's always about passing the smell test. One of the examples that I'll give was... I started watching Special Ops Lioness, or even if you saw Without Remorse with Michael B. Jordan, which were both, one was a Clancy and then the other one's a Taylor Sheridan show. And there's like a woman in Special Forces right away, and you're like, okay, did you have to do that? Like, you can do the thing where they're not on the ground. Right? The show SEAL Team had analysts that worked with Special Forces and JSOC that are women.
Well, yeah, that's a real thing.
And that's a real thing, right?
People at CIA are women and men, and they work with, they'll work with people and stuff. And sometimes they'll have security. Sometimes, like, analysts will actually go and meet with sources. They'll have security that goes with them, and they're doing it all secret and stuff like that. But, like, that kind of stuff does happen. I don't know how often it happens or to what extent, because I'm not a spook, but But
the point is like you can see it from a mile away. Most people that know anything about this stuff understand that women do not operate on the ground in Special Forces.
Yes.
And all it has to do is just you as the producer, the director, the casting agent is just the most tiny modicum of restraint will go an infinite length to giving your show credibility, because the second that the realism goes away, then the audience disengages more quickly. So I don't know where they're getting most of this info. I would say that if anything, Hollywood has gone above and beyond to do the opposite and show the quote unquote girl boss fad as to what it is today.
I see more women special agent shows than I do men.
Again, spy doesn't bother me. Female spy, perfectly fine. That I buy, right?
Yeah. Sure, okay.
But in general, that's when was the last time? Maybe in the chat, people have examples of this. Are a show focused around a woman in motherhood that's actually framed as positive, which is not something that's. Look, I give them a little bit of leeway. Well. A lot of times, like a lot of them is like Hollywood's writing demographic is becoming increasingly younger, right?
Yeah.
So less experienced. And a lot of times they say, write what you know. So why would you expect some young 20-something-year-old Hollywood coastal elite to be able to write about the experiences of motherhood or the challenges of motherhood in a way that's interesting to people on, to watch? Like that used to be, that would be something usually that would be done at the behest of people who actually understand what they're experiencing.
And they're all intersectional. So like these stats that they're having for, who's objectified, they see objectification in probably nearly everything. That even guy says hello to a woman or says smile more.
And I will, we're not gonna go through this, but I'm gonna finish on this article, and I would encourage everyone to go and read it. This is from the New York Times Magazine. This is not from Breitbart. This is not from some right-wing source. This is from the New York Times Magazine. Is the awkward diversity era of Hollywood behind us?
God, I hope
Hopefully.
And they go through in this and they point out a bunch of the more over-the-top examples where it felt forced. And they're saying, are we willing to admit now that this was a bad idea? Are we ready to just start writing unique stories with diverse characters rather than, it was really funny, they talked about the era of the BIPOC bluster, which is the blockbuster movie with a BIPOC person put in the lead role, which actually made me laugh. And they are right. And they are just now catching up to what everybody else has known for a very, very long time, which is that Hollywood does not know how to do it without shoehorning.
No.
Perhaps they will learn a lesson this year.
Not at all. They don't know how to do anything without shoehorning nowadays. Because it's dangerous to write interesting stories. Interesting stories require drama. To have drama in stories, you oftentimes have to have people that are less than good. You have to have people that are imperfect. You have to have people that get hurt. You have to have people that have, real life dramatic things happen in their lives or in the story, and those things trigger some people.
I gave that example yesterday where I was watching this show called Wild Cards, and they have this female thief who I thought through the entirety of the first episode was written almost flawlessly until the very end, when you find out that she has some social justice reasoning for committing the crimes that she's committing, which by the writer's point is supposed to absolve her of responsibility for her actions, whereas characters in the past, like say a Neil Caffrey on White Collar, was just a criminal and had layers to him. He was a very suave person, he was a criminal, and he dreamt of leaving that world, but was always pulled back into it by his worst impulses. And that's interesting, that's layered, that's dynamic. Hand-waving it away by excusing the behavior, first of all, it's lazy. Second of all, it doesn't take any risks, and everyone gets one. I almost immediately lost interest. The show kept me, and I kept watching. I think I got through episode 8 because I felt that it was the right tone for me. I enjoyed the light tone of the show, but all of the excitement that I had up until that point was almost evaporated by their desire to take the safe route and explain away why this character was acting the way they were acting. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.